that's what I'm gonna do this next hour and a half. I'm gonna try to see how far I can get in animating a file 2D. Now, here's my thought. I think it might be easier. I say this with a really big question mark, to animate a 3D image with 2D animation. And here's why I think that might be easier. It'll be easier to apply a skeleton to a 2D animation if I can get the exact perspective I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 3D image, try to cut out the background, and see if it's possible to get the image, and I'm thinking through this, to get the image in a state that I can use in a 3D model or like Tripo, get the image, get it created, and then just let it do the model, and then rotate it and take snapshots of it at different angles, and then apply some 2D animations to that model. So it just looks, you know, it'll do its thing. It's not going to be fully 3D rendered model, because I don't want to mess with 3D rendering, 3D animations, because it's going to be too hard. Yeah, I know, I'm being a wuss. I just think I just don't think it's in my wheelhouse, honestly. It's just too much. I don't know how to apply skeletons. It's clunky. I tried to use it. I just don't know how to build a skeleton. And I feel like it's gonna take me months to get it right, and I just don't want to. I will do it eventually, probably as an upgrade and maybe slow upgrades, but let's see if I can get this going first. So what I'm gonna first do, I'm gonna go to Sora here, and I'm gonna steal my prompt. It's the same prompt. I should probably just copy it somewhere. It's kind of the same prompt that I've been using to get my 2D animations. The difference is, in this case, I'm actually just going to I have these prompts that create my characters. The difference is I'm not going to, in this case, I'm not going to go with the 2D comp. I'm going to try to see if I can use 2D animation on a 3D object, just because I'm curious if it's possible. Yeah. I've only got a couple of tries on this, so I don't get 4 images. I only get 3. Can I get this image? So what you have to do with the 2D images, you have to kind of chop him up into sprites. That's what's going to be hard. So that because you're not animating his full body, I think. I don't know. I've been looking at different tools that allow you to put skeletons on characters. So okay, so there's an option with you do skeletons that you don't use. You still have to do body sprites though. So I'm not sure. I don't know how good it is. So are there any AI tools to help chop a model? Are there AI tools to help chop up a character or a spreadsheet? AI generated spreadsheets. Online sprite sheet cutter. Let's see what this does. Choose, paste, or drag and drop a file here. What does it do? Doesn't say exactly what this does. Sprite image. Input the tile size, the number of columns and rows in which you want to slice the image. The tool will then slice the image into smaller individual images, which you can download at once and zip archive. This feature makes it easy to save time when working with multiple images. No, that's not what I want. Anybody wants Photoshop.
Welcome to Happy Harvest Limited. I want to tell you that we
See, he's kind of a 3D, 2D image. That's kind of what I'm going for.
all of Happyland. They roam around all day and will hoping to expand our adventures far beyond Happyland for you all to enjoy. But before we go any further, there's been some secret things going on at Happy Harvest. Somebody keeps sneaking into the bank
Is it not showing me?
and taking all the chickens with them. Oh, what crazy things going on. Generator.
Alright, let's pause my sound here.
Say you're creating sprites and think, oh, how we're going to make the AI what my style of sprites are. Unity have had the sprite trainer, so you can drag up to 5 sprites or more into this. Give it a name of the style.
If I can find it.
And then give it some source outputs of what you might want it to create.
Jeez.
You can use that
Where the heck is it?
generator itself. So if we go to the top again and we go to the use generator, you can see that it can create images. We've got a prompt, we've got a negative prompt, we've got the styles, and the new style was one that I created based on what it worked out. And you can actually draw an input. We can just generate something called a chicken, and it will give 4 specific examples of a chicken in any style that it sees fit. That I want to create a T-Rex chicken, so you can see it gives me some examples of T-Rex chicken. I might want a giant T-Rex chicken, and you can see that it gives me some even more quite cool creations based on this. And do be sure to check out my Patreon too to get access to over 200 different scripts, assets and projects you cannot find anywhere else. And do be sure to also check out all the links in the description for best sales and savings you can find at the minute, especially the Unity Mega Bundle and so much more. Say you like any of these sprites, you can just drag these straight into your project panel and you'll be able to use them perfectly. Now, if you want to edit this and you want the AI to save this weird extra tail, we can go onto the edit function, grab the paintbrush, and we're just going to paint around this tail because it looks a bit silly that it's got 2 tails maybe, and then we can just write into the prompt of remove, and then it will generate us 4 other examples of things that we might be able to use. And now probably the best one out of all these is this one here, and so I can create a branch of that one. Maybe I could say, and then I could choose to remove this part, and you can see that if I cycle through my selections, it gives me a slight variation. I can right click and create that as a branch, and then I can use this. I can go back to my generations, and you can see that I've selected these, and these are new branches of the things that are being created. And then as I said, you can drag these straight into your project.
What is that?
You can see that it's a 512 by 512 image and can be used directly in my game straight away. Now,
T-Rex
you
chicken.
can actually draw into this input image to get a better idea of what the representation you want. So, in this case, I can create that I want a pig. But that's not the correct orientation. I didn't want it front on. But this case, I wanted a Stegosaurus pig. Just because it was going with my dinosaur-related theme. So these are a better angle that I might want based on what pig outputs. Now we can actually draw a picture. Now, you'll be aware, this is going to be the world's worst looking pig you might have seen. So say we want it legs like this, and then just a head at the front like that. I mean, that's very realistic looking pig. Then when we choose to make the re-output, we get something in line with what we wanted based on how you drew your image. So then we can draw onto this and create a new generation, and I'm just going to write armored tail, and I get some slight adjustments on this, which could be one giant spike in that case. And then I will say that if you do ever get lost and you forget where or what generations you've done before, you save out each new sprite generation you do. You can go back to one that might have been
So you can create sprites,
one
like
that was some original ones for the chicken and the
Unity
T-Rex that I
AI
was
creates
using,
sprites
or the ones
for
that
free.
we sort of created together in this tutorial. you can get those all together, and you can always access them and use them. So like I said, I had this big T-Rex, and then I can put this in my scene. I can even scale him up and make him ginormous if you were using a scene which is relevant, and I could make sure that I put him on a layer which is relevant to this, and then he could go and run around.
So
the scene
I guess I
and
have
stuff
to.
like that.
I'll have to do
want
this
add
the
sprite sheets
hard
to be
way.
able to create animations and get things.
The hard way it is. All right, so we're going to try. Can I get this image with no background, wearing football gear, pads, pants, jersey, gloves? Use. All right, so this guy is. Let's see which team this is. This one. I think it's something Lords. Dark Lords or something. Drake. No, is it a Drake Lord? Yeah, Drake Lord. Okay, so he's a Drake Lord. He's silver and black. Oh, these are the Raiders. Okay, use blue as primary. Use black as primary color with silver as secondary colors. Let's see. Let's try something. There should be. Let's try this. Wearing football gear. Black jersey with silver, what are they? Secondary colors? Silver secondary colors. Cleats. Black. Or black cleats. Silver helmet with black secondary and black gloves. There should be no base or shadow underfoot and no background. Use deep, bold shadowing. Oh, I guess I don't need this since I'm not doing the color part. Who's a current star that's that's on the Raiders team? Have the Raiders got any stars? Current most popular player on the Raiders. Max Crosby? Max Crosby. What is he, 26? Max Crosby. Oh, he's 98. Okay. I'll go here. The jersey number should be, was it 98? I don't know. Didn't quite commit that to memory, I guess. Yeah, it's 98. 98. Other items should be in the image. All right, let's see what it does. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit different. I haven't tried to do this. I've not even tried to do it with a regular image, much less a 3D image. But, hey, what have I got to lose, right? I'm trying some stuff, getting a large selection of possible images, And then I'm going to see if I can 2D animate them. And yeah, that means not actually using 3D animation. But I'm going to be using a skeleton that's kind of like 2D animation, 3D animation. It doesn't know I'm doing one or the other. But what I'm going to have to do though is chop these guys up. I got to chop their heads off. I got to chop their body off. Have a body, legs, hips, whatever. Just have it all be separate and treat them like they're going to be a sprite sheet. And so we'll see how that goes. It's pretty slow, but such is the life of free chat GPT. And I already used up my chat GPT from this morning. What did I do? I did some. Was it this morning? Actually, that might have been yesterday. Maybe I didn't use up chat GPT for my other account. And then we'll go over to, hopefully this will work in one shot. And we'll go, let's go to triple. I don't know how many I got, but we're going to try. I could use another account. I mean, it's not really like it matters all that much. Welcome to onboard. Enter invitation code. What is invitation code? Do not reply. Ah, shoot. trying to get my well, I'm waiting for this thing to send me this code. It doesn't seem to be all that interested in getting it to me quickly though. Toys. Toys. Toy tester. Huh? Some people are very interesting. Okay, I am not finding. Well, if they sent it to me, I'm not seeing it anywhere. It's like, skip? Guess I'll skip because I don't know what that is. Alright. Alright, so we'll go back here. Skip. I'll skip this too. Alright, so now let's go see what it came up with. Is it still doing it? Oh, come on. Are you being a jerk? Come on, ChatGPT. That's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. What is your holdup, man? Well, maybe I can't do this. I don't think I have any more Sora on my other thing. Pretty sure I've used them all up today. I've been pretty active today, so I may have to use an image I've already created. I was just thinking about trying to do a different character, since, you know, what the heck. But it looks like I might not be able to, because I know it's slow, but this is kind of silly. This is like not just slow. This is not. Let's try it again here. I wonder how precise, how, oops. What did I do? Okay, so here's a different one. Let's see if it's any faster if I'm not using in private. I feel like it might know you're using it in private window, and it's like, hey, you're trying to do something you shouldn't be. So says me. What do I think I tend to believe they're pretty good at I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything weird, but I don't know if I want to do it the same. Yeah, all right, let's just see. Let's see if it's any faster if I don't do it in private. And this is a different account. But see how it just went straight to it. It's like it doesn't like doing it in, well, maybe not. It started to draw it out. But ChatGPT is really, well, to be fair, it's one, two, three, 4, 5, and 6. Oh, that was yesterday. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I only have 3. Guess I could have tried to do it here. I thought I used them all up. I got 3 more. I got 3 more I can burn through. Should I try doing another one? I was trying to see. The only problem with this guy, he's supposed to be the rhinos, I believe, are the lions. And the problem with them is there's no silver on his outfit. But I didn't even realize I didn't give him any trim. This is the only one where I gave him trim. How hard would it be to animate with it? See, the thing is, this guy's going to be tough to animate because he's not. If there's too much detail in a 2D animation, that's why I think I have to do it with the 3D animation. But I want to do 2D animation. And if he's facing me, it's going to look weird when he runs. That's just gonna look funky, because you want him to have his head looking sideways, like he's on a side-scrolling panel, right? So it looks like he's sideways. It's okay to have a little bit of forward-facing, but like your camera's like looking at him, you know, from the side. But you don't want it to be like this. That's not a good angle. So. With it being so hot as it's been, the AC just freezes me out down here. I am literally freezing. So I throw on my shirt here to try to warm up, but then it goes off, and then it stops blowing on me, and then did it finish this time? All right, let's try something else. Let's I need a side view of this guy. How do I do that? So the closest thing I have to a side view, I don't even have it. None of these make a good side view. They're all terrible side views. The one I put in here is not terrible. At least the legs are turned the right way. But again, it's kind of broken, right? Because it's like it's not the whole image. This one's kind of, sort of. And what is a natural motion for running? So I'd have to straighten out his legs. Put some toes on him. But at least he's facing sideways. This one's like the whole image of him, but I'd have to cut him off of this guy. And yeah, that's going to be so hard. I'm trying to figure out how to get these, and I am just stumped by the complexity of creating. Oh my gosh, are you still going? This is the in private one, man. It hasn't even gotten done on any of them. Even my other one's not. How long does it take? Jeez. All right, so the best image perspective to create a 2D animation. This ain't gonna work because these things aren't free. I'm sure it's great, but I am poor, so I'm not doing that.
Hello, I'm Leonardo, and today I want to explain how to create this animation. Animating backgrounds in perspective is one of the most time-consuming things you can do in animation, but today we consider that's an easy task. One way of achieve this effect is using 3D software and 3D assets, but in this tutorial I'm going to explain how to accomplish this using Clip Studio Paint, with no need for 3D. Let's begin! To achieve this animated perspective change, we need three main files. First, the main file in which I'm going to create the loop animation. My second file is an animated character walking or marching. If you want to know how to create this loop, I already made 3 different tutorials of how to in Clip Studio. Like this is how to use puppet animation in Clip. All my tutorials have subtitles if you need it. In this one, there is a run cycle, and I explain how to keep your character stick to the ground. And in this one, I show how to mix puppet animation and frame-by-frame animation in this skipping cycle, especially how to create the dress moving with the character in a realistic way. I use similar methods to create this cycle. In this file, I use 2 animation folders, one for the line art. And let's place a paper layer to see it better. This is my line art for the cycle, and the second folder is for the colors, and that's it. The third file is the bridge seen from the top. What I did with this bridge was to create a wooden texture drawn in different sections. Each section has 6 wooden boards, and they are copied 5 times. Now let's see why. Going back to the main file, I want to show you what I did. But for this, it's better if we see the complete perspective drawing. To this,
I'm just overwhelmed by all this.
Make our canvas bigger. In Edit, change canvas size. I will change the canvas width now. You can see the bridge that I drew with 1 vanishing point perspective. To know the length of the cycle, I copy the character over the bridge. You can see that each step requires 3 wooden planks. The character is a simple vector layer copy from the file of the walk cycle. It requires 3 planks, but in the complete cycle the character goes over 6 planks. This is because it needs to do 2 steps to start the cycle again. This is why each module contains 6 planks, and in this way it will be an infinite loop. There are at least 4 modules of the bridge visible on the screen. That's why it takes at least 5 modules to create an infinite cycle. Let's see how. To animate the bridge cycle, we need to start and finish in the same spot. So, all the modules are contained in a folder. To animate everything at once, press Enable keyframes on this layer. I have the animation ready, but let's start again from scratch. I'm going to erase the animation, just right click, erase all keys. Okay, now to animate the cycle, I'm going to use a reference because I need to know the end of the cycle. So I want to use this rectangle. I need to place it outside the folder I'm going to animate, and I will change the color to maybe red to make it stand out from the other drawings. So to animate the folder, let's change the name for blanks. So I need to activate the enable keyframes. In the interpolation, you need to check the linear because the movement of the cycle is constant. First, I add the key in the first frame, and I know that the cycle will be 1 second long. But to make the perfect loop, I'm going to finish the animation in frame 25 because 25 will be the start of the cycle, but I'm going to take out the 25 frame. To move the folder, you can use the arrow keys. If you press shift, the movement will be 10 times faster. I made a mistake. It is the wrong layer. Now in the planks folder, I activate again the enable keyframes and place my first key. And in frame 24, using the arrow keys with the shift pressed, let's start moving the planks until we match the red rectangle. If you zoom out, it moves faster. If you zoom in, it moves slower. Now I adjust the position until it matches perfectly the position of the red rectangle. This key needs to be in frame 25, how I said, to create a perfect loop. To do this, just click and drag the key. Now I change the duration to 24, and when you test, it works. The cycle looks smooth at a constant speed. I painted a texture to this bridge, but for now it's too distracting and it's better to keep it not visible. Okay, I can erase this reference now and save the file. This is really important. You will see why later. Now in my main animation file, I want to explain what I did. The bridge was drawn using a 1-point perspective. I use as reference the rectangle for the side planks layer, and I drew these squares to indicate where the handrails will be. This is the character, these are the side planks. Now I'm going to
So really it's going to come down to my figuring out how to rig these guys. And this one was a pretty good example. But notice how I use Photoshop here, which is kind of like my Corel Draw. It does layers. You chop them up, you give it the parts. But notice how they're always like already facing kind of 3/4 in the other direction. My images, that's still not done. I don't know if that's ever going to finish. I don't think it's interested in giving me anything. Is this guy considered 3/4 in the other direction? I mean, his feet are at least facing the right way. But how do I get, I mean, your leg has to be completely visible, right? So like if I was to do something like one of these, I can cut this leg off. Then I have to animate the leg. But then it's like he'd be running weird. He'd have one leg pointing this way and one leg pointing that way. And you can't rotate a 2D image. So his foot would always be facing wrong. I can see if they were already facing sideways. Let's try this. Let's see if I can remix this guy. I want to have, I would love to get a sprite sheet out of this, but I don't. I've tried to do sprite sheets. It doesn't do well. I would love to get a sprite sheet where I could take all of his parts and just have him doing. I don't think the AI knows how to do sprite sheets. It's hey Karama, how's it going, man? I am struggling. I am struggling so hard to get these AI or these images to be usable for animation. It's not only that. I'm so intimidated by this image animation stuff. Ugh, it's just so complicated. All right, so let's see. I need this guy from a side view. So how do I get him to be a side view? All right. I need this guy. Ah. All right, let's try something. I'm gonna try something else. Let's go to triple. Let's go to triple. And then we're gonna open this guy up here. And we're gonna go here. Now, this image I've been trying to get without a background. I don't know. And if you don't remove the background, all right, so I'm trying to stick to it because I said I was gonna do that. My stream. My stream said I was going to use this guy. my stream, so I'm going to do it. All right. I need this guy without any background or other objects in the scene. He should be wearing football gear that is black and silver. But with some of his image styling. That is black, primary, and silver. Secondary. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, man? There should be no boy, that changed quick. No background and no face of any kind underfoot. You know, I like programming. I like programming to create. I like creating stuff. All right. No worries, man. You don't have to report to me. All right, so I'm going to try and get an image of this guy, and then I'm going to do what I said I was going to do before. I'm going to take him into Tripo, 3D model him, see what he looks like 3D modeled. Hopefully he'll come out okay. And then I'm going to, this is the first, well, no, I guess it's not. I was going to say he's the first one I've tried to do. I've tried to do with wings, but I haven't tried to do a 2D version of him in wings. But what I want to do is I'm thinking take some screenshot images of him in Tripo with hopefully minimal background, and then remove those backgrounds. That's the big thing. So I can remove those backgrounds and then try to 3D animate him with certain views. That's what I'm gonna go for. This is my goal. So it's going to be a multi-process. Get my character, get him animated, or get him 3D modeled using Tripo, and then turn him in different perspectives and get him the way I want him to, and then try to animate that. Try to get him in animated poses. Great, but that's really black. Why is there no? It's actually not terrible. None of these are terrible. Actually, it's an interesting one with a football, with a helmet. Why is it making them so dark though? I mean, yeah, he's got black and silver outfit. I mean, I guess, is he black? I don't remember. What's the root color of this guy? My original image. I mean, it is supposed to be black and silver, I guess. I didn't really say to soften his eyes. I guess wearing black and silver does kind of take away his contrast, but huh. Something's weird about him. He's really, really dark. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually take this guy. You know what? Let's use the one with the football helmet. And the jersey should be what did I say? 98? 98. Oh, let's go back. The jersey number should be 98. And what else what is he missing? Something's weird about him. Jersey? Do I not know how to spell jersey? It's not. The jersey number should be 98. And give his non-black and silver colors more vibrancy for contrast. You know what? I don't think, I mean, there are programmers who are self-taught. I don't think that's the majority of programmers that are self-taught like me. I think there's a lot of them that are self-taught. But the thing is about being self-taught, it's really hard to get work. It's harder to get work if you're self-taught than if you have, if you've been taught by school. Nowadays, I was able to do it because companies weren't so hardcore about being, having computer sciences degrees and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's lame that they did that. That's how it is now. But yeah, it is what it is, man. What can I do? He looks pretty cool, but there's something weird about him. I'm not like, I don't know, I'm not convinced that something's weird about him. He's like really black. I almost thought it was black and white when it showed it to me. If it wasn't for the horn, I would have thought this was in black and white. Whoa. Well, that's fine, but it's not really what I asked for. Bronco colors, though. Gotta like the Bronco colors. Let's go. Let's download this one. We'll see what this does. I'll work with it. All right, so we're gonna go with this guy. I'm gonna go over to Tripo now. Click here, and then gotta go to downloads, and we'll take him. Drop him in here. And generate. Now, Tripo, I find, is one of the better at creating the 3D model. Maximo, or is it Miximo? Something like that. And Meshi, they do all right. There's another one called, I want to say like Ronin, Rodin, something like that. It's okay too. I don't think any of them are great. Tripo is the best one though. With it just seems to do the best job of getting a fairly accurate rendering of the character you're creating. A lot of people really like Miximo or Meshi, but I always get really bad results. I'm just never impressed. And you have very limited attempts or tries with them. So it did a pretty good job. It connected his tail, did what I wanted. So yeah, let's click on that. So here's what I'm thinking. If I can click on him, if I can get me some side views and put some skeleton parts on him, I should be able to get some 2D images. And then I got to go chop him up, get his legs. So I have to like, so they actually did a really good job there. I don't see any real problem. Oh, look at his wings. I didn't even realize his wings are coming out of his shoulders. Nah. Whoops. Didn't even realize that. His wings are coming out of his shoulders. That's an interesting style of wings. I guess that keeps them out of your way. You know, that's actually probably a more practical way for wings to actually work, right? You know, the old wings in the back bit. If you really think about it, wings in the back, like an angel, a little bit. Not much. I took 6 years of Spanish, and I did a lot of what is that, the Duolingo. But I'm very poor. I'm better at understanding than I am at speaking. Anyway, so. But anyway, like, you know, if you were an actual a person, and if you were a person with actual wings, you realize how annoying those would be. Because in the movies, their wings vanish or they suck them into their back, which of course is impractical because you got to keep your guts. So being able to tuck your wings away inside your body doesn't work very well. So the idea of wings that go in, the idea of wings on your back is really a problem, because how would you ever sit? You'd be sitting on your wings. You couldn't put your back against anything. You would always have a problem with having wings. So, you know, because you think about like angels, right? Which of course the Bible doesn't say anything about angels looking like they do in our mind. Our mind gives them all these wings and stuff like that. There are some characters or some certain creatures in the Bible that have wings, but they're not angels necessarily. The cherubim, which are not like the little cupids, they're more like these weird 5-headed creatures with 4 wings or 6 wings. They're a strange creature, but there's not very many creatures in the Bible that actually have wings. And I would just say it's got to be really uncomfortable to have wings in the back, even if they don't hurt you. I mean, they just, like, you can never sit. You'd be like always sitting on your wings and stuff. It would be annoying. I guess if they come out really flat, then maybe you can open them and lean back and have your wings just kind of sitting off to the side. But it would be weird. Anyway, this guy looks okay, but his wings are coming out of his shoulders. And his helmet is kind of weird because doesn't really cover his head. I'm gonna go ahead and do a retry. I don't think it necessarily did a great job. But I guess since it's 2D, I could kind of hide the fact that the wings are weird because I just have to not have him fully turned to his back. Or I could get some other wing assets, attach them to him. Because really, you could put any wings on him. I can get wings from any character that does generate decent wings and just use those. Oh, it's 9:25 and I've accomplished nothing. Hopefully this one's a little better. Sometimes they come out better, sometimes not, but give it a chance to get it right. It's always so shiny. Trippo puts this like gloss on all the characters. Whoa. Kind of an angrier looking version, but okay. Still didn't give him decent wings. His helmet's better. Helmet covers his whole head. Still looks okay. But his wings still come out of his head. I guess that'd be really hard. I think those wings would be really hard to flap. You'd be like, you'd be trying to do this thing to try to flap your wings, and you'd only have like this, like this much wind catching. It's like they'd be little more than what do you call it? Decoration, because you couldn't fly with those little wings, and you wouldn't be able to flap them. You could jump and maybe they would produce enough to give you a slower descent if you put your arms out. But I don't see how they really function because they're just a little too little on the airflow. So yeah, he's kind of a no-go. I don't think. I mean, he's cool, but he's not. His wings are not great. So I'm gonna go. Let's close this one. Did it ever finish this? It never finished. I put these requests in and it said no. Fine, whatever. Let's go over to Trippo again. This one's these are the ones I've already generated. I do play games. Usually on weekends, Friday and Saturday, I'll play if I've got the time. Guy's kind of a crocodile though. He's not really a lizard. I usually play games that are tactical in nature, sports in nature, or what else have I been playing? I like to play RPGs, Diablo kind of things. I play Marvel Snap. I like the card game sometimes. Marvel Snap and Legends of Runeterra I've played a few times. Those are kind of my area of games. This guy looks weird. He looks like a Smurf. This crocodile. This one's a little closer to what I wanted. So I've noticed though, when you ask the AI, to give you a football gear or any sports shirt, It always puts 22 unless you tell it to put a different number. Somebody's a big Michael Jordan fan, so they put 22 on everything. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna see if I can do this. So if I'm doing 2D, this guy needs to have, well, what amounts to a sideways skeleton. Then I probably need I just don't know how to do this. Okay. What I've been doing, prior to having generated this one, I've been trying to figure out teams that the team that player represents. I go look for who the current big star is. So you'll notice a lot of my most recent generations have different numbers on them, and they're like one of the stars of the team. So sometimes it's it's 98 on the Drake Lords. It was 20. Who else have I got? 58. I've had 17. Just different numbers, but I typically pick a color or a number of a player that's kind of popular on that team. That's what I've been doing lately. The Drake Lords right now I can't use. I'm still trying to figure out how to turn this guy into a 2D animation. Because you have to identify where his head is, which is not that hard of a deal. But I just don't know how they do this. EA cancels highly anticipated PS and closes the studio. Which studio is that? Yeah, well, maybe if they weren't spending $1.5 billion on a NFL license and turning out crappy football games, they might not have to lay people off. But that's just my opinion. Thing is, most of these 2D animation videos, I'll talk about like little sprite guys like this, and I'm trying to figure out how they're doing this. And so rigging is the one.
Hello everyone and welcome to this, a first look at Unity's 2D rigging system. My name is Kasanas.
That's
guys, today we're going to take a look at Unity's...
It's not recent. I want something more recent. 7 months ago. This guy is the one I was kind of watching. JavaScript? JavaScript's not too bad. Yeah, JavaScript's a good one. I don't know if you're looking for like browser-based stuff, that's what my React is written in. It's all written in JavaScript. React is a form of JavaScript.
and we can collect item as you can see, and we can attack. Okay, attack, and enemy can attack us. Let's collect items, and if we just lose all of our health, we can die. Okay, you can make a game over screen. Game over screen, something like that, and also a menu. I will have a video in.
How to make 2D game in Unity. Tama doesn't even say when it was made. I am so overwhelmed by this process, folks. I'm so trying to figure out how to get this thing made.
We are making a game that has 2D in a 3D world. The characters use animated 2D sprites, while the buildings and environments are in 3D. This allows us to mix pixel art and 3D, and it also allows us to put 2D characters within 3D cutscenes. Please wishlist our game, link in bio.
That's really short. How about learning to draw, or learning to like art? Or I say I have nothing against art. I like art. I just don't like creating it. I don't want to I'm not making a platformer. I'm trying to figure out the perspective of the characters that need to exist for 2D.
Hey, I'm Jay the Dev Guy, and I love 2D characters in 3D worlds. Something about the confidence to have one art style for the characters and a completely different art style for the environments, and just sort of shoving them in a room together and making it work. Like, it reminds me of old hand-drawn cartoons where, you know, you can always tell what's going to move based on what's drawn on the animation cell instead of painted in the background. It just has this janky charm, and I can't help but love it when I see it. But what really surprises me about this style isn't just the fact that the jank is charming, but that despite the obvious jank, some of the most iconic games ever made look like this. Like, it's not some niche, some of the most classics are styled this way. And it's got such range. I mean, anywhere from the cartoony storybook aesthetic of the original Paper Mario to the gory, youth-corrupting violence of the original Doom. We all just, like, take these games seriously. And for something as janky as having a little 2D guy in a 3D space, I don't know. I just find that kind of beautiful.
Huh.
So when I decided to take learning game development seriously, I mean, this style seemed like the perfect fit for me because I could take the 2D character skills I already had, which is great because rigging and animating 3D characters is like kind of a nightmare. But
yeah, tell me about it. I'm with you, man. Did you hear him? He says, which is right up my alley because rigging and animating 3D characters is kind of a nightmare. Yeah, tell me about it. I'm having trouble figuring out how to do a 2D character. And this guy, I mean...
But I could put him in the 3D worlds that I really wanted to make and play. But as soon as I started really prototyping, it seemed like all of the games that do 2D characters in 3D worlds do one of a few compromises that I really wanted to avoid. Some will create a ton of turnaround sprites, so no matter which angle the camera is looking at them, they'll always have a set of sprites that's drawn in the proper perspective. So, I mean, this means you can't have just a run animation, but you have to have a run animation for when they're facing the camera directly, a run animation for when they're facing 3/4 of the camera, a run animation for when they're facing the side of the camera, a run animation for when they're 3/4 away, a run animation for when they're completely away. It's a ton of work. I mean, props to the people who do it, but this is way too much work for me to consider reasonable, so I definitely didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But the games that avoid doing all those turnaround sprites typically avoid it by just locking the camera completely, so all those tough angles that would break the illusion of the flat characters in this 3D world just aren't accessible at all. And a fixed camera is fine for some games, obviously, but a lot of the types of games that I really wanted to make and play, like a shooter or a Souls-like, just can't really be done with a fixed camera like that. And I mean, some games just say, they're made of paper, but I didn't want to do any of these things. I wanted to have 2D characters in a 3D world with no turnaround sprites and an unrestricted camera, and no paper. Which is maybe an ambitious goal, but I mean, this ambition is worth nothing if I can't get it working with something simple, like a basic 3D platformer. So my mission right now is clear. Can I make a basic 3D platformer with 2D characters in 3D world, no turnaround sprites, unrestricted camera, and no paper? So let me walk you through what that was like. So here we have a really basic scene of mine, 2D character, 3D world, no turnaround sprites, unrestricted camera, and it sort of seems like as soon as I do the most basic action imaginable at moving the camera at all, the whole thing sort of seems to fall apart. I mean, the character just creepily slides along the ground to keep the camera on its good side. But while this was janky if I stopped to think about it, this sort of just felt like that charming jank that drew me to this style to begin with, so I was kind of fine with this. I mean, as long as I have the characters rotate at the bottom of their feet instead of the center of the sprite like this, I don't know, I kind of liked this. Which is fantastic, because I just saved myself a ton of work by not needing to animate all those turnaround sprites, and I was really happy with the result. So, in my opinion, that first compromise of the turnaround sprites is already taken care of. But I mean, before I could get too excited, the character looking acceptable while the camera moves a little bit is pretty much the bare minimum an art style needs to be able to handle, so I have a few more things to take care of before all my basic needs are met. And I would say one of the most basic needs of a 3D platformer is depth perception. And I mean, okay, depth perception in 3D games has always been hard, but let me tell you, when your characters have literally no depth to themselves, it doesn't help. So one of the first things I did was create this fake blob shadow that's always directly underneath the character's feet. And I mean, this is a trick as old as Mario 64, and it really helps ground the character in the 3D space around them. You will feel its absence if you play a 3D platformer without one of these. Toss in some code so that the shadow gets smaller the further the character is from the ground, and throw in some particle effects so that when they're running, it sort of illustrates the trail that they've moved on so far and orient you in the direction that you're going. And this 3D platformer is feeling pretty good to me. I mean, modern, fully 3D platformers still use all these tricks, so their effectiveness for me here is really just a testament to how important little details like this can be, and how especially important they are if you're doing something a little unconventional, like having flat characters like I am. But with all these tricks, I think the basic needs of my simple 3D platformer
See, here's
are
the
met.
thing.
And okay, the basics being possible did surprise me, and I am proud of this, but I can already see you commenters pointing this out in the comments below that other indie devs have done this before. I mean, Here Comes Nico, a game that came out last year, does literally everything I've talked about so far. And I mean, there are a lot of indies, for that matter, doing really cool and interesting things with the 2D characters in 3D world space right now, and I definitely want to talk about those. But it seems clear to me that it's going to take going beyond the basics to even be on par with what others are doing in this space right now. And thankfully, with a few modern rendering tech...
Okay, so my plan for my game, I don't need a lot of movement. This isn't like an open world game, right? I mean, the only time my players are doing anything on the screen is when they're playing the simulation. The football game. They're on a fixed zone and they move left and right. Well, yeah, okay, so there's some forward and backwards and different angles. But I'm trying to figure out why a 2D character has to look like a 2D character. Why can't they look like 3D characters? You know, they could be a 2D character that just looks like a 3D character. Now, characters, you still have to have, like, he says no turnaround sprites, right? When you're changing the angle of the screen. But what happens when your characters have to run that way? You still need you need a back of your character view. in order for you to do something with it. I don't understand. I guess what I'm my brain is having trouble wrapping around what is the ideal perspective of a 2D character. So, like when you're watching his little video here,
really just a testament to how important little details like this can be, and how especially important they are if you're doing something a little unconventional like having flat characters like I am.
See, now his character is flat. What is the ideal? It looks like the ideal is having feet that move sideways but a body that's 3/4, so that you can have his legs and his arms and whatever doing their thing
But with all these tricks,
see, like,
I think the basic needs of my simple 3D platformer are met. And okay, the basics being possible did surprise me. And we're just telling the computer in this case that the numbers 96, 42, and 116 should add up to that desired color. And okay, I mean, it's probably not surprising that under the hood, colors are numbers, because, you know, computers and code are just numbers, right? So I understand that that part's not surprising, but the part where things get really interesting is understanding that these numbers can mean color, like they do in this case, but these numbers can also communicate anything to the computer using this texture. And I mean anything. Like, seriously, anything. So here, on screen right now, I have a black and white texture where the values of each pixel spell out my real personal phone number in ASCII. Here I have a red and green texture where the value of red in each pixel correlates to a class in Team Fortress 2, and a value of green in that same pixel is the required IQ it takes to play them. Here's a texture where the values of red, green, and blue just spell out Steam keys to Undertale, Dusk, and Golf with your friends. Good luck with that one. And so, you know, what if instead of all that stupid stuff, we could have the values of a texture communicate what angle a surface should be lit as? See, because light in games, or the reductive version of light in games that I'm going to be explaining for this video, basically works by taking the angle of a light source and calculating it relative to the angle of a surface. So if a light is at 80 degrees and a surface is fully facing towards it, it'll be rendered as fully lit. And if the light is 80 degrees and a surface is fully away from it, it'll be rendered as fully dark. Everything in between is shaded in between. But what we can do is intercept that calculation with a texture and essentially lie to the light and say, hey, instead of lighting the surface at the angle of the surface, light this surface at the angle that this texture is telling you instead. And that's basically, how normal maps work. Normal maps have been used in games for a long time to light flat surfaces if they had way more depth and complexity to them than they actually do. And this is perfect for me because all of my characters are completely flat. So by adding a normal map to them like this, they can now be lit as if they had real depth and volume to them. And as you can see here, it creates this really nice rim lighting effect to them that not only do I think just looks better, but also really grounds the characters and the environment around them by having them react to the lighting in the environment just like the environment itself does. So not only does this add polish, but it's that little bump of the lamp that really separates the Who Framed Roger Rabbits from the cool worlds. Nobody wants to be a cool world. And so with normal maps, I think that I've brought this prototype into the modern age. I mean, to me this looks at least as good as a lot of the other indies in the 2D character 3D world space right now. And this is awesome. But my commitment to that last compromise, the unrestricted camera, is still causing me one problem. When the camera gets too close, the sprite gets really blurry. Like, really blurry. And the first instinct to fix this may to just be increase the resolution of the characters, so make them a 4K texture, that way the camera can get pretty close and it won't get blurry for a while, right? But as I elaborated on earlier, making large textures like that is really not ideal. I mean, modern hardware and Unreal Engine 5 are really good, but having a bunch of characters on screen with that many animated 4K textures like that is just not possible in modern times. And even if I wanted to upscale every single character sprite to 4K, eventually the camera's going to get close enough to them where it will just get blurry regardless. So even if I wanted to upscale to 4K, which again I couldn't it doesn't even really solve the problem anyways. And really, zooming in on complicated, multicolored textures like this is always going to result in blurriness eventually, but thankfully, because of the way I draw my characters, they'll have this cartoony black outline for their line work. So I realized that if I could separate the line work from those colors, render that black line work cleanly, and overlay it back on top of all the blurry colors underneath it, I could effectively have a character sprite that the camera could get infinitely close to because those clean black lines are covering any of the blurriness underneath. And thankfully, distance fields are the perfect trick for this. So distance fields are traditionally used for things like text.
Okay,
or
so that
elements,
explains that.
Things that need to
So I was watching another guy doing his 3D thing, and he says he created this outline, and then he created the other characters. And I'm like, why do you do that? What's the point? I mean, the character can do whatever. And, I mean, having the outlines are kind of a, I was like, it seems like a lot of work to create an outline, right? But now I know why they do it. But here's kind of the problem for me is, I don't know. I mean, how do you separate the outlines from an image? And this is probably another reason why you don't use 3D. Okay, so this might partially explain my problem of why you don't create 3D images. It also probably gets rid of the problem of pixel art. Okay, so that's probably why pixel art is so popular. Pixel art has, it's to be pixelated is what pixel art is. So as you get close and your characters start getting pixelated, or you get far away and they get pixelated, whatever it is, it's fine. It's a pixel art. So who cares? So I guess pixel art gets around that need for the outlines. But if you want to have 3D characters, now this game,
You've probably heard the term HD 2D before, but do you really know what it means? When Square Enix partnered up with Acquire Corp to work on Octopath Traveler, they set out to combine the nostalgic pixel art of Super Nintendo games with modern lighting and post-processing technology of Unreal Engine 4. Shortly after the game was released, they filed a trademark for the term HD 2D. However, this doesn't prevent you from making games on this art style. You're just not allowed to use the term HD 2D in your marketing. Square Enix then went on to publish many more games with this art style over the years, all of them being made in Unreal Engine 4. Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake is currently in development and will be the first one to use Unreal Engine 5. There are also a few indie developers making use of a similar art style. An example is the game Sacrifice by Pixelated Milk, which is set to release in 2023. I'm currently also working on a side-scrolling beat-em-up in this art style and have many Unreal Engine tutorials that can teach you how to make a 2D-3D hybrid game like this. If you like this type of content, please subscribe and check out my devlog series in the pinned comment. You've probably heard the term HD 2D before, but do you really know what it means? When Square Enix partnered up with Acquire Corp to work on Octopath Traveler, they set out to combine the nostalgic pixel...
Let's see if there's a thing for that. How to make a 2.5D game, whatever the heck that is. How to make... See, they can do it in Unreal. Converting my Unity RPG from 2D to 3D. No. Stop making ugly games. Went indie, went all in. It made millions. Hey, whatever. I don't know how to do the images. I'm so stressed. I gotta figure out the images. I've got to figure this out. And understanding, I like the idea of Octopath Traveler's 2D, 3D, whatever it is. HD 2D in Unity 6. What is this? What is a 2.5 game? .5D.
I still remember the first time I seen it. I was in absolute awe. 2D sprites coexisting in a 3D environment? It just seems so groundbreaking. What's up developers, I'm that one Unity dev, and today I'll be showing you guys how to implement your 2D sprites into a 3D environment to create something similar to what you're looking at on screen. Before we jump into today's video, if you're new around here and want to learn more about Unity or game creation as a whole, please consider subscribing. I typically post about topics that don't have a lot of resources online, and even ones suggested by you guys. I usually start my tutorial videos by talking about what we're going to do first, and maybe even some relevant background information. But I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. We just hit this button in Unity, and now we have 2D sprites in a 3D environment. Well, video's over. See you guys next time! I'm just kidding. There's actually quite a bit of work that needs to be done before we have something that actually looks good. So, without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. Starting from scratch in an empty 3D URP project, I import the sprite package from the package manager. I then import my character sprites, some ground tiles, and set up a simple terrain. I could have just used a plane, but I opted for using the terrain for an extra dimension: height. After giving the terrain a quick makeover, I create an empty game object, name it to player, and do the unthinkable. I drag my sprite into the 3D environment. After making a child of the empty and centering it, you can see we are already halfway to our goal. If you are a beginner and try to continue on your own, the biggest roadblock you will run into at this point will probably be the player movement. Typically throughout my tutorial videos, I kinda just shrug off player controllers with the not my problem attitude, but this time is a little bit different. Since we're doing something outside the norm, I will show you how I tackled this problem. So, usually in a 2D environment, your player has a 2D rigid body with 2D colliders, gravity, etc. Well, we can't really do that in this case, because we need our player to interact with the 3D world around them. To solve this, we'll add a sphere collider to our main parent object, a normal rigid body, and a new player controller script that we're about to make. Then, open up the player controller script. Before we get into the actual code, let's take a break and explain what we're trying to achieve first. So, obviously,
So it's a lot of learning to do this. So I'm doing a lot of
left,
learning.
Right, maybe even forwards and backwards into our scene if we want to get fancy. But because we have height in our game and no physics, when we move our player on this hill for instance, he will simply just clip into it and ignore any surface he should otherwise be standing on. To fix this, we're going to do something called a raycast and snap him to the ground. So, now that we know what we're doing, let's see what that looks like in actual code. In Visual Studios, as you can see, I went ahead and I created the player controller. In this script, we have a few public variables. One for movement speed, one for the snapping distance to the ground, one for the terrain layer, and one for the sprite renderer of the player's sprite. In Start, we get the rigid body of the player. And in Update, we use a raycast to show a line from the player downwards.
I've done some of this because I did create a 3D character that sat on a field and ran around on the field. It works fine. I just don't want to try to animate him a million times over with all the different animations because it's just outside of my wheelhouse.
Terrain layer.
And having to do that for 32 players, I'm trying to figure out...
If that line hits the terrain, we simply move the player a set height above the point it hit. Below that, we're using the rigid body to move the player. Honestly, it's not that much different from what you might normally do. Just getting input, setting velocity. I also flip...
The nice thing is I don't have terrain. I mean, my football field is flat.
The sprite renderer, depending on what way you're moving. Back in Unity, we can create a new layer called Terrain and assign our terrain that layer. On our player script, I set my speed to 2, set my terrain layer to the one we just created, and drag and drop the sprite renderer of my player sprite into its variable slot. If we hit play, you can see the player has now snapped to the terrain, although it doesn't quite look right.
Yeah,
During runtime, we can adjust the Y distance to the snapping point. Once you get something that looks good, make a note of the number, exit runtime, and write it in the field. Now we can hit play and walk around our environment. Awesome. Next we can focus a bit more on the visuals and better sell the 2D 3D effect. I went ahead and imported a 3D model I created earlier. All I did to create this model was go into Blender, slap my image on a plane, cut it out with the knife tool, and give it some thickness. This gives a very cool effect. And as you can see, by using the same art style on the 3D model, Unity is doing all the heavy lifting and essentially closing the gap between the 2D and 3D world. After importing this other character sprite and putting him in the scene, we can see he looks a bit flat compared to the house model. To give us some extra depth, we can create a new child sphere object, disable the collider, make it not render, and instead only cast shadows. This looks so much better, and in fact, we can repeat the same process for the player character.
It's kind of funny they
Adding
use
animations is the
a
exact
pill-
same
a
process
pill
as if
shadow.
we were working in a 2D environment. No difference there. Although, if you want to move the shadows to better match your animation, make sure you set your curves to constant in the curve editor. To make the camera follow the player, I import the Cinemachine package, create a 2D camera, set the follow target to the player, change the X rotation, and play with the Z position and FOV to get something I'm happy with. After importing more sprites, adding animations, and a touch of post-processing, you can see the scene really has come together. The hardest part of creating the scene was actually the aftermath, because now I want to create an entire game in this style. But that's pretty much it for this tutorial. If you enjoyed today's video, consider showing the like and subscribe button some love, or even leaving a comment. It really goes a long way to help YouTube recommend this video and gets me one step closer to being monetized.
Yeah,
If you get
guy's
stuck,
got
we've also built a
7,000
wonderful
subscribers.
community
I
on
think
Discord,
he's just
where we all
doing.
help each other out, and if
He's doing just fine. Okay, so
Hello there, how are you? Good. I'm really good too. Thanks for asking. That's great to know. You're sweet. Anyway, my name is Thomas Brush. I'm the creator of a game called Pinstripe, and also finishing up a game called Once Upon a Coma. If you guys want to take a look at those games, click the link in the
this
description.
guy,
And also remember you can support on Patreon. Get a free
he's
copy of
how
my
long was
game,
it? 5
Pinstripe.
years ago.
Alright,
Okay, so he's currently he's been doing a lot of videos where he interviews other game devs and people who've been successful, people who know how to do.
Today's a special day because we're going to jump inside of Unity, and I'm Skillshare. Thank you so much.
People
Skillshare,
who know
for
how to
sponsoring
do
this video.
graphics.
Skillshare is an incredible website for you guys to learn about pretty much. Alright, so right now I have a
He has
very
417,000
basic,
subscribers back then.
scene
Jeez.
setup. We're in 3D mode. We're not actually in a 2D mode. We've created a 3D project, and you'll see I've got a lot of different 2D elements and 3D elements combined. I have a three-dimensional camera, meaning it's in perspective mode, not orthographic mode. It's using a background color, just a solid background color. You'll notice there's fog as well, so we're just taking advantage of the fog settings in our lighting tab. And just be sure you turn off auto generate. That's going to slow down things while you're working because it's going to start baking in lighting. And I've also just turned off mixed lighting. Just FYI, just if you want things to be faster while you're working, we're not going to be working with baked lighting at all in this case. So we have some fog settings. It's set to linear mode. We have set our end to 2, which is basically placing
See, essentially,
our character.
if you look at this guy, he's got this dude who is sideways. I mean, I don't know how. Well, I guess my problem is how are they animating these guys? Are they chopping? It's like, how do they? I don't get it. I guess my brain is just not gronking how they're animating these dudes. Because yes, you can put skeletons on a guy who's facing forward, but then he's not looking the right way. I'm guessing it has to do with how the character is drawn. Your legs, like the legs of this character, right? So how do I... Oh, man.
as we jump and run.
See, that's
through this
my
very
problem.
plain,
I'm trying to figure out
basic
what
scene.
perspective do I need my 2D images in. And let's see here. What perspective should I be drawing my 2D images in for creating sideways animations? And if I have to access the legs, how to animate them? Should I be drawing a character without arms? This perspective uses profile view, where the character is drawn completely from the side. This ensures clean movement. Key consideration of side animations profile 90-degree side perspective. This is the most common approach for side-scrolling games. Showing clear leg movement, 3/4 view, slightly angled. If you want a more dynamic look, a 3/4 perspective can add depth with still line for readable animations. If you need to animate the legs separately, you can temporarily remove the arms while working on leg motion. This helps avoid clutter and makes rigging easier. Many animators separate limbs into layers so they can be animated independently without needing to redraw the entire character. But I don't know how to do that! I don't know how to draw that way. I'm not a good enough artist. I can't draw an arm separate from the body. I can't even draw an arm attached to a body. I need to use AI, so I need to cut stuff off. Ugh. I'm stressed. I gotta figure something out. There's gotta be a tool or a way to do this. Some way to get the perspective. I don't mind chopping a guy up, putting him on his sprite sheet and creating the individual parts. I just don't know how to do it. For the lost compensating for the non-existent information under the arms. AI-based image completion. Some advanced tools use AI to fill in missing details when separating limbs for animation. Programs like Photoshop, Content Aware Fill, or Runway ML can help reconstruct hidden parts. Sprite sheet editors, software like Spin, Dragon Bones, or Texture Packer allow you to break an image into separate pieces for animation while adjusting for missing areas. I might have to look at Spine or Dragon Bones. Or whatever, Texture Packer. Let's see here. Let's see if there's any reviews of this stuff. Spine versus Dragon Bones. Spine Pro versus Dragon Bones.
Dragon Bones. I've been hearing about this 2D animation software for a while now, and I've been really curious to try it out myself. especially since I've received quite a few positive feedbacks about Dragon Bones from you guys, and was also told that it was pretty similar to Spine Pro, except it's free. So I thought I'd put Spine Pro and Dragon Bones side by side to see the strength and the weaknesses each animation software has upon the other. Spoiler alert, both of them are better in some aspects and less good in others. My goal here is to simply show you the comparison between the two. For my experiments, I've took one of my existing Spine projects in which I used most of Spine Pro features. I tried to replicate the project in Dragon Bones without losing quality and improving it if possible. To make the most accurate comparison, I've used exactly the same assets and tried to keep the meshes and the bone structure as close to the original as I could. Then I went through all stages of the animation process and at each stage compared the capabilities of Dragon Bones to those of Spine. So, let's see how they performed. The first thing we do with the animation software is import our character images into it. Now, in Spine, before we can start using the character assets, we have to export them from Photoshop using a special script, which converts the Photoshop layers into images and creates a JSON file. It is a lengthy and slightly complex procedure that can take a few tries to get it done right. With Dragon Bones, however, we can just take our PSD file, drag it into the editor window, and it will work, just like that.
Joe, how's it going, man?
No scripts involved. To tell you the truth, I was quite surprised and
what's the
really
latest?
liked how much simpler it was to
I've heard well, I saw that. It said it was free. It still doesn't mean I have any idea what I'm doing. It's like yeah, that's definitely an issue. But I tell you, my brain is all about the back end and creating the logic and the data flow and creating how all of the information and data management of my application. I love that. I can do it. My brain is good. But boy, I get into this graphic stuff and I am so intimidated. I can't gronk the complexity of it. I mean, it's like, I just dread the idea of creating all these meshes and figuring out I can't draw for my life. So I have to use AI images. So I need to take these AI images and figure out how to chop them up into pieces so that I can have like the arms and the head and the legs, and trying to decide on the perspective. Well, I need to have some version of graphics. So I was going to go with 3D, but 3D modeling, or not modeling, but rigging and animations are massive undertakings. And I have a bunch of characters. Yeah, that's one way to go. I would love to do that. But I need something, right? I need some kind of output. I was going to do just one character with his animations because it's a football game, right? So I want to just create, like, the idea in my game is that I'm going to have each team has a different character. But I figure I'll do one. I'll just do one character. Every team will be the same character. Like, as though I was doing humans, right? Doing human football players, which I'm not. I mean, there will be some that are kind of like human football players, but whatever. And I was thinking, well, I could go with that. But for simplicity's sake, I'll do 2D. Oh, I have tried Blender and I hate it. You know what? It's probably not even Blender's fault. It's just that I have it right here. You can see my little icon here. And I have tried to do work in Blender. And it looks a lot like Unity. Okay, so if you've seen my app so far, I've got a lot done in Unity, but there's no characters yet. I've gotten to the point where my backend is starting to provide data, or be set up to provide data to do my animate, or to do my simulation. And I need to start working on the simulation. That's like that's like, to me, one of the primary heart and soul goals of my app is to get a nice or a decent looking simulation going that's going to use the data that I feed it from the back end. So I render the entire plays or games in the back end and pull that data to the front and then render it. And I've got the whole process set up to provide that data to the front end. So now all I need to do is start rendering it. And so I'm at that point now, after 7 months of developing, where I finally got my back-end services all running good. I've got my React app doing its thing. I've got my Unity app doing its thing. It's not 100%. All of the features aren't all there yet, but I've got enough now where I can start producing data for simulation, because I finally got my simulator data in the back end kind of producing some amount of data. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's start doing the simulation. Let's get at least the taste of it going, even if it's just running guys to the huddle, putting them on the line of scrimmage, and, snapping the ball. Something simple. Like, and I'm not even going to run all the other parts yet, even though I've got a lot of the code there for it. But because that to me is like the first step towards my game being fully realized, right? Having everything have some piece of logic in it already functioning. And therefore, I have to start getting something on the screen in the form of 2D, in form of my animation. So over the course of the last several days, I've been kind of deciding, well, 2D animation should be easier than 3D animation. So let's do 2D. But I'm struggling with trying to figure out what kind of character positioning do I need, what kind of models do I need. And like this person,
File. It is
this. Her entire character's body is chopped to pieces, which means she drew it piece by piece. That's really what it is, right? They did it in layers, but they still, they layered one part, the body, then they layered another part, and then they layered another part, and that's great if you're an artist. But AI is not going to give me this. So I need to do some kind of rigging off of a character that exists. So I have one of my videos I did a while back that I actually got Unity to render one character on the field, and I had him running around on the football. He's a 3D model. And I thought, well, maybe he's just too complicated.
You have the capture card?
Yeah, it's right here. I use it when I play Switch. For now, I'm not using it right now. So, yeah, I have a 3D animated model, and I just don't know that I can do other animations for him. So I guess I could just use one and have him run back and forth. But I don't know. I just keep trying to figure out what the bare minimum of what I can do to make things work. And you're right. I'm going to probably go with a prefab. I'm going to generate a prefab that takes my one character that I already have on, that can already run around on the field, and I've already done the animation, the one animation, which is just run around in circles. Well, he can run and he can walk, which looks terrible because the animation was created by Trippo, and it does this weird thing where it pins the arms to the body. I don't know why it does that. I figured, well, one of these days I could tweak the animation. And I've finally kind of decided, you know what, maybe I need to simplify the characters and then just start pasting the animations into them. It's just been overwhelming. Do you know Lython? I don't even know what you mean Python? I assume that's supposed to be a P, right? Yeah, it must be a P. I do not know Python. I played with Python I think it's kind of goofy that it uses tabs for part of its coding or indentation. So I'm doing all my code, all my backend services are written in Go. So they're all written in Go microservices, which, by the way, I had to learn for this project. I started learning it in December. In fact, in November, I had never heard of Go, but I heard Go is really popular for making mobile games or backend services, microservices, not mobile games, but microservices. So I said, all right, let's do Go. So I worked with AI. I built 11 services, account authentication, user account data, simulator, coaching, game plans, players, and all the services data to move that data around between everybody. And I got everything kind of working. And then I also created a gateway service that handles the calls from my UI. So from my React application and from my Unity application are both making their calls to the backend services to get their data to the front end. And then I'm going to manipulate that data. I was thinking I'd use something like Framer Motion to move some basic characters around on React if I want to do that. And again, I'm just thinking 2D. I even thought about going to the pixel art. You can use Python to create Blender models. Grok AI to generate a Python script to create a model with Riggy. Yeah, it's actually working really well. I've gotten really pretty comfortable with how it's developing my my backend stuff. I like my services. I think they're coming out good, and I'm excited to push that data to the front. Right now, I've already got Unity consuming the data, pulling, connecting and pulling the data to the front. Same with React, obviously. They're both pulling data up, and it's ready to do something. I just need to do the stupid models. So you could actually take. So I have a number of models I've generated. I just created this guy. Trippo generated a 3D model of him earlier. The only problem is the Trippo model is kind of broken, so I kind of decided not to use it. But it took his wings and put them in his shoulders. So I don't know how to generate that. But I thought maybe if I'm only doing 2D, I can give him wings of another character because it wouldn't matter. Wings are wings. So I also have these, though this is I was thinking I'd go with a more of a cartoon style because it's lower resource intensive. It's not as high definition. So doing something like this is one of the, I had this guy posed into an A-frame so he'd be easier to grab. But if I want to animate this guy, here's the problem. I don't have a side view. And this is not usable for, if I was doing a 3D render of this guy, that would probably work fine. And this is supposed to be a quarterback throwing a football, but without the football in his hand. This way I could get the hand in his view, but of course it gave him a fist. It put a fist on his hand. I'm like, well, I could still probably put a football over it and then you wouldn't really know. But so I wanted him in a pose of this so that I can try to render a football pose. And so then I thought maybe it's just better for me to try to get just keep working on getting a character made, having it generate sprites so I can create a sprite sheet and just not have to do any animation at all. Just use a sprite sheet, which will, fake it till you make it kind of thing. But I've learned that AI is terrible at side views. It's just like it refuses. It always wants to do these forward-facing or three-quarter views. Everything is like three-quarter views. See how he's three-quarter, half facing you. Even all these images are kind of facing you, even though I kind of asked for that one to be. But every image, even when I purposely tried to get it to give me a side view, like, is this my downloads? That is. So where did I put the other one? I don't know where I put it. This one. Yeah, I had an image. This was me trying to have them draw side by side, but they're side by side in 3/4 view. Yeah, no, I told it to take the football out. I did not want the football in the scene, so I told it. But I was just concerned that I wanted it. I would have rather him have his hand open like he's throwing the football. I told it that he'd be in pose of like he's about to throw the football, but no football. And it did it with a fist instead of with his hand open like you would have if you were throwing a football. So that was the problem. I would have rather his hand be open, but whatever. I might even be able to generate that and get it to do it, because you can go to Sora and go, give me the same model but have both his hands open, and then it would probably redraw. And that would probably work. But it's I don't want to have it. When I try to generate these guys, I'm trying to do it without anything in their hands, so that when I can, like you said, add the football to them as needed. Yeah, Octopath Traveler does the same thing, and that's kind of what they call what a HD. What is it called? HD 2D. Which I guess is a copyrighted name you can't actually use in your marketing. So they're calling it, I think, 2.5D. So it's somewhere in between 3D and 2D. And I think it's cool. And the thing is, I'm not sure, it's kind of like what I'm doing, right? Because I'm putting my guys on a football field that's going to be kind of at a perspective of kind of an angle, like you see a lot of games. But I'm not sure how 2.5D, I kind of like that perspective, but I'm not sure how, because Octopath Traveler, a lot of these games, they really do give you multiple angles of their characters. So you've got a back, you've got a side, you've got a front. You've still got the different views of the character. So whenever a character is moving in that three-dimensional realm, you get a 2D view that's applicable to what they're doing. So they're coming at you, they're moving away from you, they're sideways view, and sometimes they're even 3/4 view if that game allows for it. And honestly, you need to have a 3/4 view with them to your back. You need a 3/4 view of them to the front, because they could be running this way or that way. And 3/4 view in AI generation is easy, because that's what it wants to do. Yeah, so you wouldn't fully rotate, which is fine, I think, for football game, but you can. I was watching 2D where you can watch a game where it does kind of rotate with you, but it would look weird on a football field, because your guys would look like they're facing the wrong way when the field turns. And what's bad is I set up the cameras on my Unity field to work with a 3D model. And when I have my field, so I have 4 cameras. 9 hours live? What do you mean? You see 9 hours live? 9 hours live of what? I've only been doing this for 2 hours. In this session anyway. No, this stream has only been 2 hours long. I don't know why it says that. But I did stream 3 times today. But one of those was an hour and a half. One of those, and a couple of them were 20 minutes. I'm trying to keep my streams down to under 2 hours most of the time. But normally I would have went hour. Let me rephrase that. I'm trying to keep my streams down to under 2 hours effective in the last week or so, because I'm noticing that my really long streams are, well, I'm just trying to try things to see if I can get more people to look at my streams. That's really what it comes down to. says 9 hours, huh? Today? Yeah, I don't think it's been 9 hours, man. Even with all my streams combined, I don't think it's been 9 hours. And I've, unless somehow Twitch is going by the fact that I started this morning no, because it would be more than that then, because I think I started at like, I think I started about 8:30 this morning, my first stream. So maybe it broke up, maybe it disconnected the first stream, and then the second stream, it's been going 9 hours since, like it knows, it's basing it on the time of your first stream start, and then it just connected them all. You could probably look at my previous Twitch streams, and it'll show you how much time was each one is so long. But like, I'll show you my my on-field scene. Okay, so I have my on-field scene here. Let's see here. Let's hide this guy, shall we? Just to make that easier. Okay, so this is my field. And then, so you can, let's flip this around. Maybe it's in the way. Ah, there we go. Okay, so you can see I have all 22 of my players on the field, and they're all my 3D lizard guys. They look pretty cool, but you know, this is kind of what they look like. And I put them all on the field, and there's a football here somewhere on the ground. I don't know where it is. There should be a football on the ground somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's supposed to be over here in the center somewhere. Joe O'Kane. I don't know Joe O'Kane. Hey, well, I appreciate you stopping by, Joe, and saying hi. And you know, I definitely, yeah, scale is pretty close. It's pretty close because the characters are slightly, all right, each one of these grid spaces is supposed to be a meter, right? So it's probably fair to say they're about 2 meters in size. So they're pretty close. They may actually be kind of big. I think they're actually more than they should be, because I actually thought maybe I'd want them to be a little bigger. Soccer, huh? At least he called it soccer. I have people coming over to me all the time and going, so is this got, you know, they start asking me about soccer things. Are there going to be friendlies, or are there going to be matches or whatever? And I'm like, what? Oh, you're talking about soccer. And I'm like, no, this is American football. And I always tell people, look, I know you guys probably had football first, F-U-T-B-O-L. And Americans, you know, usurped it with football. But here's the deal. Americans don't have another name. There is no other name that's been defined for football. It's just football. It's not American football, just football. I mean, yes, it's American football. But soccer has an option. There is another option. It's called soccer. So why confuse everybody? Just call it soccer. You have 2 names. Use the one that doesn't conflict with the American one, which has no other name. There is no other option. I had one guy came in over. He was calling it hand egg because it looks like an egg. I remember Scott Lucas. I don't remember his name. Yeah. Hey, it's great. You know, you're still working over there, huh? Do they even have any? I was surprised they have any full-time employees left. It seemed like they just kept laying off full-time employees, and they were down to what, 20-some% at some point, because they were putting everybody offshore. So It's good to hear that some of you guys are still hanging in there. I've talked to Sereni a couple times, Rasapan, because really, oh god, I feel like it's the 19 years, dude. Good job. I was at 14 when they laid me off, but it's been tough. So hang in there, man. You're getting at the you're getting up to that point where you can call it quits or whatever. But it's been tough. The work world is for developers is rough. I can't even get companies to call me, man. They won't even call me. They won't even go like, "Hey, man, how's it going? What are you looking for?" So you're 44. You've been there for 20 years. So you started working there when you were, what, 25? I guess that's not too bad. 26? Wow. That's pretty good. But yeah, when did I start there? Well, I mean, I was only there 14 years, so that was 2 years ago, 53, 14. So I must have been 29? Is that right? Wait, no, it's 30. 39. I was 39 when I... Really? Gosh, I was 39 when I started working there? Wow. Really? I didn't realize that. I liked Primera for a long time. It was a good company for a long time. The last couple of years before I left, it was kind of starting to get to me. The thing is, the work I was doing was no longer entertaining. Call you? Sure. I guess I can call you. Probably shouldn't put your number on my chat though, man. I could have given you like my Discord or a private number to use. You know, posting. Probably not. It's a little hard. I wonder if it's possible. Can you delete your post? I'm going to delete your post only because I don't think if I can, I'm going to try to delete that post. I don't know. Because you don't want to have your... Hey, man, how's it going? What's the latest?
So it's been 2 years.
2 years since what?
Since you worked at Primera.
No, I was there last year. I was laid off a year ago April, so it's been about 13 months.
Remember the big ass layoffs? First big ass wave.
Yo, now I was laid off the first time, but I was also rehired. Yeah, I was laid off and then got hired back a year later. Well, it wasn't quite a year when they hired me back. And then I was there for another 2 years. A year and 3 quarters.
Remember when I was in middleware?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Ramesh Murray, he was on my team, he was laid off that day, the same night before. It was like the week before Thanksgiving, right? That was like the first big ass wave.
Yeah, that was in October. I think I was. Oh well, they notified us in October. Yeah, they laid off a bunch of people.
Yeah. Okay. John Kaufman, he was on my team. That team.
Oh, okay.
Has still not found a job. It's been like 6+ years. I ran
Jeez.
into him at the Smoky Point Lowe's working there. He ended up selling his house, everything, living in a hotel in Everett, working at Lowe's, like stocking shelves. It was the weirdest shit ever. The most awkward thing. And I swear one of the most weirdest awkward interactions I've ever had in my life. Just running into an ex-coworker working at a hardware store. I'm like, dude, that's like $100 grand plus, like, you know, a year drop in income because you can't find a job. skills, update my skill set, go find a job. Or you're doing self-employment, update your skills, put a game out there, pay some people to buy it. I don't know, whatever. Or you go, do some Go development for some back-end shit, whatever. He's the only one I've seen, and it's weird because when I was working with him, he just like completely refused to work with skills. You know what I mean?
Can you hold on a second, Joe, real quick? My son's. I got a question. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, what is that? The work thing?
No, I'm talking to a guy, a friend of mine from work.
What is this plug again? Is this the power? Do you need to plug this one in?
Yeah, that plugs it in. That's the.
That's the one that goes to the PC, right?
No, that doesn't have to go. That goes to like a cord, like a what do you call it? A C adapter, just like your phone.
Just
It's
to
the
give
same
it power,
same
basically?
plug. Yeah, it's to give it power.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
I don't know why I pressed mute because my mic is still on. So,
Anyway,